Have you ever found yourself in a situation that tested your boundaries at work? Today's story will show you why standing your ground can change everything. If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more life-changing stories like this one. The rain pounded against the windshield with such ferocity that Mark Wilson could barely see the road ahead. His knuckles had turned white from gripping the steering wheel too tightly, and the tension in his shoulders had formed a knot that would take days to untangle. The business trip to Denver had been planned for months, but the unexpected storm had delayed their flight, forcing them to drive to the nearest town and find accommodation for the night. "The GPS says there's a motel about 5 miles ahead," said Vanessa Reynolds, his boss of 3 years, peering at her phone screen. The blue light illuminated her face in the darkness of the car, highlighting her sharp features and the determined set of her jaw. Mark nodded silently, focusing on keeping the car on the road. At 42, he had been through enough in life to know when situations were heading into dangerous territory. The single father of a 12-year-old daughter, he had promised himself years ago that he would never compromise his integrity, not for a job, not for money, and certainly not for momentary comfort. "I hope they have rooms available," he said, more to himself than to Vanessa. When they finally pulled into the motel parking lot, the neon vacancy sign flickered weakly against the stormy backdrop. The relief Mark felt was palpable as he parked the car as close to the entrance as possible. "Wait here," he told Vanessa. "I'll check if they have rooms." The motel lobby was small and dated, with wood-paneled walls and the faint smell of cigarettes that no amount of air freshener could mask. The elderly man behind the counter looked up from his crossword puzzle as Mark approached, dripping water onto the worn carpet. "Rough night to be traveling," the man commented, setting his pencil down. "Tell me about it," Mark replied with a tired smile. "Do you have 2 rooms available for tonight?" The man's expression shifted to one of apology. "Sorry, son. We've got folks coming in from all over because of the storm. Only got 1 room left. King-sized bed, though." Mark's heart sank. He thanked the man and headed back to the car, the rain soaking through his jacket once again. Vanessa rolled down her window as he approached. "Well?" she asked, impatience evident in her voice. "They only have 1 room left," Mark said, running a hand through his wet hair. "We should try somewhere else." Vanessa's laugh was sharp and dismissive. "In this weather? Are you kidding? We could end up with nothing. Let's just take it." She grabbed her purse and opened the car door. "Only 1 room left? We're both adults, right?" The way she said it made Mark's stomach tighten. There had always been something in Vanessa's demeanor toward him that made him uncomfortable, lingering glances, standing too close during meetings, finding excuses to touch his arm or shoulder. Nothing he could report to HR, nothing concrete, but enough to keep his guard up. "I don't think that's appropriate," Mark said firmly. "I'm a single dad, Vanessa. I won't tell anyone about this situation, but I'm not comfortable sharing a room." Her expression hardened. "Don't be ridiculous, Mark. This is a business trip. I'm not suggesting anything inappropriate. But if you're going to be difficult about it, maybe I should reconsider your position on the Denver project." The threat hung in the air between them, as heavy as the storm clouds above. Mark thought of his daughter, Emma, waiting for him at home. He thought of the mortgage payments, the college fund he was slowly building, the stability he had worked so hard to create after his wife's death. But he also thought about the values he was teaching Emma, about respect, boundaries, and integrity. "I understand the Denver project is important," Mark said, his voice steady despite the rain pelting his back. "But my answer is still no. I won't compromise my principles, not even for my job." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake, Mark." "Maybe," he replied. "But it's my mistake to make." The tension between them was broken by the sound of another car pulling into the motel parking lot. An elderly couple emerged, looking as drenched and miserable as Mark felt. "Looks like we're not the only ones seeking shelter," Mark observed. Vanessa didn't respond, her attention fixed on her phone as she aggressively typed something. Mark knew he had likely just torpedoed his career prospects at Reynolds Marketing, but a strange sense of peace washed over him. Some lines weren't meant to be crossed, regardless of the consequences. The next morning, the storm had cleared, leaving behind a crisp, clean sky. Mark had spent the night in the car, reclined in the driver's seat, while Vanessa took the motel room. His back ached, and he desperately needed a shower, but his conscience was clear. As they prepared to continue their journey to Denver, Vanessa approached him with a cup of coffee from the motel's small breakfast area. "Here," she said, handing him the steaming cup. "You look like you need this." Mark accepted it with a nod of thanks, surprised by the gesture. "I've been thinking about last night," Vanessa continued, her tone more subdued than usual. "I want to apologize for putting you in that position. It was unprofessional of me." Mark's surprise must have shown on his face because Vanessa gave a small, rueful smile. "Don't look so shocked. I'm capable of recognizing when I've crossed a line." She paused, looking out at the mountains visible in the distance. "My last relationship ended because I couldn't respect boundaries. It's something I'm working on." The admission seemed to cost her, and Mark felt a newfound respect for his boss. "Thank you for saying that," he replied. "And for what it's worth, I think recognizing the problem is half the battle." Vanessa nodded, her usual confident demeanor returning. "Well, we still have a presentation to nail in Denver. Let's get going." The drive to Denver was surprisingly comfortable, with a new understanding between them. They discussed the presentation, shared ideas, and even laughed about some of the more eccentric clients they'd dealt with over the years. When they arrived at the conference center, Mark was surprised to find the CEO of their company, Richard Harmon, waiting for them. "Mark, Vanessa," Richard greeted them with a firm handshake. "Glad you made it safely. I heard about the storm." "It was quite an adventure," Vanessa replied with a professional smile. Richard nodded, then turned to Mark. "Mark, could I have a word with you in private?" Confused but compliant, Mark followed Richard to a quiet corner of the lobby. "I received an interesting email from Vanessa this morning," Richard began, his expression unreadable. "She recommended you for a promotion to senior account director." Mark blinked in surprise. "She did?" "Yes, and she was quite emphatic about it. Said something about you demonstrating exceptional integrity and professionalism under pressure." Richard studied Mark's face. "Care to elaborate?" Mark hesitated, not wanting to throw Vanessa under the bus. "We faced some challenging situations during our trip, and I tried to handle them as best I could." Richard's serious expression gave way to a smile. "Well, whatever happened, it clearly made an impression. The position is yours if you want it." The promotion meant more responsibility, a significant salary increase, and more flexibility to be there for Emma. It was everything Mark had been working toward. "Thank you, sir," Mark said, still processing the unexpected turn of events. "I'd be honored to accept." As Richard walked away, Mark caught Vanessa's eye across the lobby. She gave him a small nod, a silent acknowledgement of respect earned and lessons learned. That evening, Mark called Emma from his hotel room, his own room, in a proper hotel in Denver. "How's the trip going, Dad?" Emma asked, her voice bringing a smile to his face. "It's going well, sweetheart. Really well, actually. I have some good news when I get home." "Did you get that promotion you've been hoping for?" Emma's perceptiveness never ceased to amaze him. "How did you know?" "Because you're the best at what you do," she said with the simple confidence of a child who believed her father could do anything. "And because you always do the right thing, even when it's hard." Mark's throat tightened with emotion. "I try, Em. I really do. That's why you're my hero," she said matter-of-factly. "Oh, and Dad? Can we get pizza when you get back? I've been craving it all week." Mark laughed, the tension of the past 24 hours finally releasing its grip on him. "Pizza it is. I love you, kiddo. Love you too, Dad. See you soon." As Mark hung up, he reflected on how close he had come to compromising his values for fear of losing his job. The irony wasn't lost on him, it was precisely because he hadn't compromised that he was now being rewarded. 6 months later, Mark sat in his new office, a framed photo of Emma on his desk. The Denver project had been a resounding success, bringing in 3 major clients and establishing the company's presence in the Western market. His relationship with Vanessa had evolved into one of mutual respect. She had become a more thoughtful leader, more aware of the power dynamics at play in professional relationships. And Mark had found his voice, confident in his ability to stand firm when it mattered. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Vanessa stood in the doorway, a folder in her hand. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Of course," Mark replied, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. "I wanted to run something by you before the board meeting," she said, taking a seat. "I'm proposing a company-wide ethics training program, focusing on professional boundaries and creating a respectful workplace." Mark raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like an excellent initiative." "I thought you might approve," Vanessa said with a small smile. "After all, you're the one who taught me its importance." As she laid out her proposal, Mark couldn't help but think about that rainy night at the motel. One decision, one moment of standing firm, had created ripples that continued to spread outward, affecting not just his life but the culture of the entire company. Sometimes, the most powerful statement wasn't what you said, but what you refused to do. And sometimes, the most important person to keep your promises to was yourself. That night, as Mark helped Emma with her homework, she looked up from her math problems with a curious expression. "Dad, what does integrity mean?" she asked. "My teacher used it today, and I didn't want to ask because everyone else seemed to know." Mark set down his pen, giving his daughter his full attention. "Integrity means doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. It means staying true to your values, even when it would be easier not to." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "Like when you didn't cheat on your test even though you really wanted to pass?" "Exactly like that," Mark said, impressed by her understanding. "Why do you ask?" Emma shrugged. "My teacher said you were a person of integrity. She met you at the parent-teacher conference and told us today that some people talk about doing the right thing, but others actually do it, no matter what. She said you were the second kind." Mark felt a warmth spread through his chest. "That's a very nice compliment." "I think so too," Emma said, returning to her homework. "I want to be like that when I grow up." "You already are, sweetheart," Mark replied softly. "You already are." As he watched his daughter work, Mark thought about how our choices shape not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us, especially the ones who look to us as examples. The promotion, the respect, the professional success, all of it paled in comparison to the knowledge that he was teaching his daughter the right lessons about standing firm in her values. In the end, that rainy night hadn't been about a motel room at all. It had been about the kind of person he wanted to be, the kind of father he wanted to be, and the kind of world he wanted to help create, one principled decision at a time. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, integrity isn't just about grand gestures, it's about the small choices we make every day that define who we are. Share your own stories of standing firm in the comments below, and join our community of people committed to living with purpose and principle.